Economics is the study of how people choose to use scarce resources in an attempt to satisfy the unlimited wants. But what is scarcity? In economics, scarcity refers to limitations, insufficient resources, goods, or abilities to achieve the desired ends. Figuring out ways to make the best use of scarce resources or find alternatives is fundamental to economics. Think of a thing that you like to have. What would your life be if you suddenly couldn't get any more of it? You might have your favorite hobby, or like collecting lipsticks or reading books. You might have a favorite food like pasta or a special kind of bread. What would you do if your favorite lipstick or book were no longer available? What if you couldn't get pasta or your favorite bread anywhere? People deal with this kind of problem every day. It's scarcity. It comes from the word scarce, which means there isn't a lot of it or it isn't always available. Some fruits are scarce in markets, sometimes because those fruits or vegetables grow only on a certain time of the year. Because the supply of fruits and vegetables is lower, there is better chance that those fruits and vegetables will be scarce or not available. You may find that the market has no strawberries at all. Why? Either no shipment of strawberries came in or few strawberries came in that by the time we got there they were all gone or they were simply not in season. What does this mean for the demand of strawberries? If people want strawberries when none are available, then the demand is quite high. And the demand is high not because the price is low, as is usually the case, but because the supply is low. So how does scarcity relate to supply and demand? Scarcity is a measure of supply. If strawberries are scarce, then the supply of strawberry is low. If many people want to buy strawberries when none are available, then demand is high because of a low supply caused by scarcity. When things are scarce, we have to make choices. If market does not have strawberries, you have to decide if you really want strawberries. If you do, then you'll have to travel to different markets to try to find some strawberries. If you don't find any anywhere, then you will have to go without. Scarcity has forced you to go without strawberries. In the same way, the latest iPhone might be difficult to find because you weren't one of the early people in the Apple Store the day the gadget came out. If your Apple Store ordered only 5,000 units and 4,998 people bought the gadget before you got there, then you'd better hope you're the one of the next two people through the door. The same is probably true at other stores of Apple in your area. We can say the latest iPhone is scarce because the supply is low. Another choice you might have to make when something is scarce is how much you're willing to pay for it. If coconuts are normally a low price, then they might have high price when they are scarce. If that is the case, then you will have to decide whether you want to pay the higher price. You'll have to decide how badly you want those coconuts. If you have only a certain amount of money, then you have to buy coconuts using some of the money you plan to spend on other foods. Scarcity has forced you to make a choice between foods. For many people, making difficult choices is a way of life. If you don't have enough money to buy all the food you need, and many people don't, then you have to make choices. And the more scarcity you see on the shelves of your market, the more difficult choices you have to make. The same is true if scarcity is created only by a seasonal market, like the strawberries or other fruits and vegetables. Some crops grow better at a certain time of the year, so they are harvested at those times and sent to the market at those times. If you want, and it's not strawberries, if you want and it's not strawberry season, then the supply of strawberries is more likely scarce, if any are available at all. Lastly, sometimes scarcity is created only because a supplier has hold out of a certain product. A sale on older John Green books might result in a bookstore selling all of the books on hand. And if other bookstores have similar sales, then it will be very difficult to find one of those older John Green books. This scarcity caused too many people to try buy too few things. Scarcity can be a powerful thing. It can force you to make difficult choices. It can force you to go without. It can force you to pay more than you wanted to. And it can force you to look elsewhere for things you want. The next time you discover that something you want isn't available, remember the idea of scarcity. What choice will you make? Scarcity can be applied to real life situations. Everyday people make choices that they think is the best rational choice. It may not be the same for other people, but for others it may be. Scarcity leads us to make choices that are sometimes difficult to make. For example, a college student will be enrolling for a subject. It is hard to get classes that are later than 9 a.m. and earlier than 4:30 p.m. because students tend to have classes during 7 to 9 because it's too early, and classes after 4:30 p.m. because it's too late. And when you enroll late and only classes that are left are 7:30 classes and 4:30 classes, you have to make a choice because you need the subject to finish college on time. Scarcity is everywhere we go and in every choice we have to make. One of the most basic concepts of economics is supply and demand. These are two separate things, but they are almost always talked about together. Supply is how much something is available. For example, if you have 9 basketballs, then your supply of basketball is 9. If you have 6 apples, then your supply of apples is 6. Demand is how much of something people want. It sounds a little bit harder to measure, but it really isn't. To measure demand, you can use a simple numbering system, just like the supply one. If 8 people want baseballs, then you can say that the demand for basketball is 8. If 6 people want apples, then we can say the demand for apples is 6. So we have supply, which is how much of something we have, and demand is how much of something people want. Put the two together and you have supply and demand. Now, how do you show the relationship between the two? One way is to use the price of something. Generally speaking, the price of something will go up if the demand goes up. Why? Because the seller thinks he or she can get more money for whatever he or she is selling. If more people want something, they will be willing to pay more for it. A good example is the newest iPhone. Everyone wants them, and they are willing to pay more than they normally would to get them. The demand goes up. Why? Because more people want them. The price also goes up. Why? Because the seller knows he or she can get more money for the product because it is in demand. In the same way, the price will go down when the demand goes down. When the new iPhone comes out, everyone will want that new iPhone. The old iPhone doesn't seem so new anymore. The seller still wants to sell those older iPhones. Since he or she has a lot in stock, so the price goes down. Why? The seller hopes that people will be willing to buy the old iPhone at a lower price. After all, the older iPhone aren't that much older or worse than the brand new ones. What does this all mean? It means that you can track supply and demand by also tracking price. If something has a high price, you can usually conclude the demand for that item is low. In that same way, if something has a low price, you can usually conclude the demand for the item is high. Why? First of all, a seller has already paid money for what he is trying to sell. For example, a bookseller has paid $4 for each paperback book he has on his shelves. He has bought 10,000 books and about $40,000. He is selling those books at $5 each. He hopes to sell them at $5 each and get a total of $50,000. But what if the demand is low and no one wants to buy them? The seller wants to make some of his money back, so he might lower the price. He is already out of $40,000. He can't change that, but he can change how money is bringing in. If he lowers the price of the book to $4 each, he breaks even on each book, but still takes in some of the money he had spent
to buy the book in the first place. And this bookseller would have to have lower price of the book because demand is low. The reverse can also be true. If booksellers decide that he wants to get as much money as he can back, then he might raise the price of the book to $6 each, figuring that he will sell fewer books overall but will get more money for each book sells. What does this all mean? Supply and demand are two very strong market concepts. Studying the two then can give you a good idea of what people like to buy and sell, and you can track both supply and demand for comparing the price of an item over time. To study supply and demand is to understand economics at its most basic.